thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in to episode 54 of Ask the Experts podcast with Alka. I'm your host, Alka Sharma, and I am so excited, first of all, to having my guest, Aleksandra Marjanska, coming on today, and what she is about to share with you. It's just gonna we're just gonna be talking about high achievers and how to achieve success in life and business. And as entrepreneurs, that is what it's all about, to achieving the heightened levels of success that we truly desire. To elevate ourselves as entrepreneurs, we need to be constant and evolving all the time. And so I wanted to acknowledge, first of all, each and every one who come back to listen, learn, and grow. So I want to welcome Aleksandra. Aleksandra, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. We've been trying to make this happen for quite a while now. So I consider us being here live on Zoom a big win of today already.
Wonderful. That is so good. Yes, we've been trying, but I'm so glad we finally, got you to come on. So Aleksandra, she is an ICF coach, she's a high performance mentor, and she's the founder of the Social Achievers Institute. Aleksandra helps visionary entrepreneurs and trailblazing leaders to accomplish their most audacious goals, and she does so by ease and joy and without overwhelm. Aleksandra is also researching on what is called hyperachiever syndrome. I'm excited to learn more about this. So, Aleksandra, why don't you start with, how did your journey begin in this field?
Oh my goodness. So there are probably many beginnings and many life kind of scenario stories that came together. Because one story is the story of my own life. And really, the first episode that I can remember of burnout, I didn't even realize what the burnout was. The term was totally not known back then, and definitely not known to me as a little girl. But I remember this episode. I've always been this A student and this beautiful girl, really loving school, not only doing school because I had to, because there were some external expectations. I really loved that. I really set the bar very, very high for myself. Actually, I was constantly kind of like competing with myself, which is important, a key identificator of a hyperachiever. Right. So I wanted constantly to kind of like beat my own records. And I did it with my school performance as well. And believe it or not, the first episode when I simply passed out, I remember in my apartment on my way to my bathroom, was when I was still in primary school, out of physical exhaustion that I didn't kind of catch beforehand. And that so my body actually just shut me down for a while because I wasn't listening to the subtle signals. So this is like the beginning of my own story with, achieving very high on one hand, but then burning out along the way on the other hand. And this whole thing being non-sustainable in the long term. And then there was a story of me becoming a professional coach, and within professional coaching also searching for my niche and for my calling. And then there was a story of me working with my first proper business mentor, who helped me identify different ideal client avatars that I could work with. And we came up with 4 women. They were women. And by coincidence, I guess, or maybe just by, intuition. And I fell particularly in love with one of them, even though I felt like that was the one that I wasn't yet capable of serving well enough. Right. And this mentor actually created this avatar based on herself and her own experience, which she revealed afterwards. And she said, I know you, Alex, and I know that you're more than capable of serving this person already. And this is how all these paths came together.
That's beautiful. And you know what? Oftentimes we don't know the trajectory of our life. We don't know the path that we're supposed to be on, and sometimes it happens by coincidence, accident, that what we're doing at the present time is just meant to come full circle. So now I want to talk about when we talk about,
Yeah, and
right? Yes.
yeah, sorry, because I think it's you know, it's very hard to connect the dots beforehand,
Mm,
but often when you land on something, or you have this, you know, this nudge, this urge, this like almost sometimes it feels like an epiphany.
right.
And first then when you have this clarity and then you look back, suddenly everything makes sense. And first then you can see, you know, all the pieces of the puzzle that were coming together at different
Right.
times in different ways.
Exactly, because at that time we don't realize what's happening. But so people have that you have achieved, you were a high achiever, in your early years, you were a high achiever, and there are a lot of people that are high achievers. And when people come from, say, like a broken family, so they have the goal, they know that the potential they have, the potential, the abilities that they have within. And oftentimes people who come from broken homes, they're very good, they're very smart, they're high achievers, but they build a wall. And I want to ask you, because I'm curious, so as a performance coach, high performance coach, how does someone what's the art of building relationships with someone who may come from a broken home? Can you share with us what is a step that they need to take, that they can do to having the art of relationships in spite of coming from nothing?
Um, well, I think, you know, my ideal client, my ideal audience
Mm,
actually very often come people my people come from broken homes in many ways. So they have been exposed to very often like this prolonged traumatizing factor in
right.
their family in one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
But then I believe that there is something like innate personality type of an achiever. And so if you are
What is that
surrounded by a
personality
healthy
type?
environment, you will probably,
What is
yeah,
that?
so the achiever type, I would say. So it's, you know, when you have this innate drive all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and when you are very future oriented, when you always are hungry for more. We all, you know, as human beings, we do have a need of developing ourselves, growing, but in an achiever type, this need will be particularly strong,
Right.
really, really extraordinary. And so we will never settle for anything, no matter how good life is already. We are not about stability. So it's not, stability is not one of our values, really. So many people are searching for stability. So many people are dreaming about, you know, once I reach this level of my life, the rest of my life will be just about enjoying it and kind of maintaining it, making sure that what I've built will sustain. But for an achiever, there is no such a point as, you know, just reaching a point and then sustaining it. No matter how great the point is, we will always want to move somewhere else and learn more and create more and explore more and achieve more and challenge ourselves. So these
Mm-hmm.
people are challenge seeking, while so many others just want to stay in the comfort zone. So, you know, there is this message to the masses, because the masses need to hear this. You know, get yourself out of your comfort zone, because everything you want is on the
Exactly.
outside. La la la. For for achievers, it's the opposite. We are so used to living outside of our comfort zones, and we sometimes don't even allow ourselves to go back to our comfort zone to kind of recharge, rejuvenate, just relax
Mm-hmm.
for a bit. We are living out there. We are so used to jumping on, you know, on the deep water all the time. constantly challenging our mind, constantly challenging our body. And then back to building relationships. You asked about, how this person can build relationships. It's an interesting question. I don't think anyone actually asked me. I think it starts with the relationship we build with ourselves.
Right.
Because as achievers growing up in really, really difficult situation, very demanding situation. Imagine, like, on the one, this is how I see, and this is my theory of how a superhero is being created, like the true superhero of our times, which sounds great, but it's actually not that great. We will get back to this. But like, imagine someone that is this little boy or this little girl that really has huge dreams, extraordinary, way more than the regular. And they take this dream seriously.
Right.
They are action takers. So it's not only to kind of escape the reality and feel better for a while and just kind of daydream. They actually want to make this happen. Crazy people. They're going for it. And so if the circumstance they're growing up in is supportive, there is a huge chance that they will be healthy achievers. Obviously they will, meet obstacles because the dream itself is challenging. But if there is a circumstance in their life, very often in their closest family, let's say, that makes it extra hard, then you can either give up on your dream. An achiever won't do that. Or you feel, okay, so I need to strive and I need to fight even harder to make this happen. Because I won't make this happen and I won't let go of this dream. So you kind of need to create some superpowers, because regular human power is not enough to survive in this situation and still get you what you want. So you create this superpower, and also you learn that you only can trust yourself, because you cannot rely on your circumstances. You cannot rely maybe on your parents or your closest caretakers, because maybe they are not doing their caretaking job really well.
Right.
And so you take this burden, more than what could be expected of a little kid, on your shoulders, and you become this superhero. And then you are strong. You can notice that you're able to take more responsibility than others, that you are able to handle really challenging, difficult situations better than others, that when others give up, you still keep going. And so people see this as well, and you might achieve, and people will admire you, and you will get questions now, oh, how do you do it? You're so amazing. And you are so great at this. Can you help me with that? And you are so great at this. Can you help me with that? And so we become these really, like in Marvel movies, all these superheroes that are supposed to rescue the whole world suddenly. Because they are capable, because they have this super strength. But then the point is that sometimes, like, the superhero mask almost like is being glued to our face, and we start not allowing ourselves to still be just a human.
Right.
We start trying to live up to the superhero identity every minute of our day.
Right.
And we don't want to allow ourselves to be weak. We don't want to allow ourselves to be, to ask for help, show that we actually might need help sometimes. And that creates a lot of trouble and struggle in later years.
Exactly. And I was just coming to the point of that, because people, they build a wall, don't they? They build a wall, just like maybe they're not maybe confident in themselves, or they don't value themselves. So like you said, it's got to start with yourself. It's got to start within. You got to have that self-worth. And is that why people build a wall, just like as a protection?
Yeah. So it is a kind of protection, because you are so scared of being disappointed, or so scared of letting go of control. Because very often, yes, if there was lack of trust, lack of safety, lack of unconditional love, truly unconditional love, whatever there was a lack of, our ego is wounded by this. And so it will try to compensate all the time. And also, we sometimes forget that it's okay to be a human. And so we want to be these superheroes all the time. And our self-worth is based on us constantly showing up as superheroes, constantly achieving more, constantly proving to ourselves that we are capable of even more. So there is a difference, yes, because a healthy achiever also wants to achieve more and more, but it doesn't come from a place of lack. It doesn't come from any wound. It just, life is exciting when we get to do more. So it's not like we don't have enough or that we are not enough, but there is just a simple joy and desire. There is this adrenaline kick, and it's like, hey, let's make our lives even more amazing. While with the hyperachiever syndrome, really this constant chasing of proofs for self-worth is really the very core of it. And there is still this not good enoughness and a lot of internal blame, very harsh inner critic that expects you, like whips you into being the superhero all the time, even if you have a human need of just resting, as simple as that, or slowing down for a while. It's like, come on, it's not you. You are not the person who slows down. We need to speed up even more. So that's just one of the possible conversations going in the head.
Well, I guess it's kind of like sort of hammering you down because it knows your potential, and that's why it keeps on hammering you. And come on, you can do this. You can do this. So, Alexandra, you are doing research on what it's called hyperachiever syndrome. Can you explain to us what is hyperachiever syndrome?
Yeah. So we actually started with the core of this, but it's on a very unconscious level very often. So that this, achieving thing is actually a cry for proving self-worth constantly. So it's really you're achieving not for the, for the delight and fun of living, but you are achieving to constantly prove to yourself, to others, but mostly to yourself, actually. You just project it on others, that you are worthy, that you are good enough. So really this not good enoughness is in the core of it, but it's on a deep subconscious level, because when you look at these people very often from the outside, like the outside world would never say that these are, people struggling with not good enoughness, because they seem very often very confident, and they seem like, these high performance, achieving already great stuff, and yet they struggle. So how to recognize? Well, if you feel addicted to achievement, if you feel like every single day of your life you need to do something new, something challenging, something productive, everything needs to be productive, and if you think, quote from one of my ideal clients, if you have thoughts like, oh, Netflix is for lazy losers, right? So you are not supposed to give yourself a break. You are constantly on the go towards something bigger, and also if you notice that you are getting tired of it, if the day is never long enough, no matter how much you get done during the day, you are still focused on all the things that are not yet done, and you will beat yourself for not moving forward fast enough. All that would be, some of the symptoms of the hyperachiever syndrome, that you just like literally you are restless. You do not allow yourself to pause. You do not allow yourself, and also especially when you feel like you have taken too much on your shoulders, sometimes you might experience morning anxiety, when you feel like, oh my goodness, the whole world now expects me to be the superhero. I have kind of trained everyone. Everyone around me got used to that I am this superhero,
So you
and I
have
really don't
expectations,
feel like
like you
this.
have high expectations. You have high expectations of yourself.
Very, yeah, and really unreasonably high, because there is also this, people believe that it's great to believe that you are limitless. And yet I say, again, I very often go against the mainstream, just because the general advice that works for most people does not work for my people, and might even be detrimental for them. So, the general advice of, as we said, like getting out of your comfort zone and challenging yourself a bit more, or if not now then never, like all of these things are actually not working for high achievers, because they are already operating like this at the very high gear, and all this advice is actually based on extracting what natural achievers do in what way that allows them to achieve. And so we will extract that, make like this power pill out of it, and give the pill to all the others. But guess what? Hyperachievers who never feel like, they have done enough, there is always way more, they feed themselves as well with all these books and all these YouTube talks and all these, and so they kind of like overdose their own medicine, they overdose their own superpower, and they just end up, instead of heading towards their goals, they're heading towards collapse and burnout.
Exactly. I mean, there is a balance. There's got to be a balance, when it comes to the burnout. We've all experienced burnt out at one point in our lives, but there's got to be a balance. So you're a high achiever, you're on the higher scale of most people, but then to realize as to, okay, well, I need to pause. Like I said, you need to pause, you need to, reset, and then you can begin to achieve everything else that you have wanted. So like, morning anxiety, like you mentioned, to maybe reflect and just to pause. So when it comes to Aleksandra, we talked about, I mentioned that people who may come from broken homes, people who come from nothing, can people achieve anything in spite of not having anything in life? What's your thoughts on that? Can people achieve anything? Is it possible if you have nothing and you've come from nothing in your life?
Well, I guess actually there was a research done, and it's proven that like the top achievers, really know the very famous names in the world, like Oprah Winfrey, let's say,
right,
they have come from almost like less than nothing.
Yes.
Because they have come from, and this is, when I saw this article and when I saw this research, I thought, well, to me it was obvious, because the more adversary you met, if you have this spark in you, because it's like this, obviously the same circumstance could kill many people, or like really shrink them, and they would live really desperate, miserable lives.
Yeah.
But when you have this spark, you just don't want to give in to the circumstances.
You don't.
And because of, we always say, like, from adversity, from obstacles, from failures, we often say, and there is a truth in it, it will either kill you or it will make you stronger.
Right. Yeah.
So if it doesn't kill you and you keep going through so much,
it makes you stronger.
Imagine how strong you become. Like you become way stronger. Yes,
it's
we
limitless.
are talking about this. You become limitless, but then again, with this limitlessness, and we start believing this, and we are told to believe that we are limitless as human beings. But at the same time, I believe that yes, our soul, our spirit is limitless. And also when it comes to, achievers, huge dreams. They're also beyond everything. They're visionary. They're really, like Steve Jobs would say that, yeah, he talked about these crazy people that actually go and make this craziness, turn this into reality when everyone else is going like, you're crazy. Like, what are you trying to do? And I'm like, whatever, I'm going for my crazy idea and I will make it happen, or I will die trying. Go do it. But then, with the hyperachiever, and at the same time, not only high performance, but sustainable high performance, actually, I do believe that believing that you are limitless is a limiting belief. And it's because it doesn't take into consideration that in this, physical world that we are being born to, and we are having this life experience in our physical body with our brilliant brain as a part of it, navigating through this 3D reality, we actually do have a limitation of this vehicle that we are traveling through life in. And if we think that just by pure willpower, just by pure inspiration, just by pure desire to make these crazy visions happen in the real life, that we can kind of drag our body and overstimulate our mind because we just want to move faster. So let's go, and we will push ourselves. We will push our body. Our body will start giving us signals that it's too much. Hey, I can't keep up with you. And if we ignore it, as high achievers very often do, and we all, but come on, like just a little bit more. Oh, before even it starts, catch yourself, like guys, girls listening. If you have the tendency to, let's say, postponing your lunch, because you feel like, oh, but I can just do this one little thing, this one more to do, to tick off, and before you know it, you've been sitting there hungry as hell for 3 hours.
True.
Or you never go to bed because the day is not long enough, and you said to yourself that you would do these 13 freaking things on your to-do list for today, not 3. Must be 13. 3 wouldn't be good enough. And so it's past midnight and you still feel like you haven't done enough in your day.
Yeah.
As if there was no tomorrow.
Right, exactly. So you're compensating. You compensate into, you're compensated pretty much. You really want to get everything done. So you compensate. You stay up until like 2 a.m.
Yeah. And guess what? It doesn't make you more productive. Chances are that if you work until 2 a.m. being exhausted and just, scrapping the last drops of willpower to get through it, the quality of this work at 1:30 a.m. after how many hours working and not eating and not getting fresh air and nothing, not having light, basically, like it's not great. And guess what? The next day, you will be so knocked out that the whole day is thrown out of the window.
Exactly.
But somehow, when we are there in the middle of this, pushing, we can't see the logics of it, even though it's really so simple. When you kind of step out and look at yourself from the side, it becomes very obvious.
Exactly. And I love this quote. If you're in the picture, you can't see the frame. So it's just saying, you have to, you got to be aware, and you got to know, okay, well, what is my limit? There's always tomorrow. The work can always be done. And Aleksandra, I want to talk about now, because I'm curious about this as a high performance coach, introvert, as people who are introverts. And we talked about when it comes to the art of building relationships, how does one build relationships? So as an introvert, most people build massive connections, deeper connections with people. Doesn't matter what industry you are in the arts, you're a musician, a singer, etc. So when it comes to introvert, what are the steps that people listening could take on from what you're saying, and they can go out in the world today and really they know that they're probably shy, they're introverts. What is that one step that people need to take to build massive relationships? What is the action step that people need to take?
Yeah, so I think you're asking great questions, Alka, and very unusual. So I need to think. And the first thing that came to my mind is really accept yourself as you are and acknowledge who you are. Do not try to be someone else, because we are living in a culture that promotes extrovert people. Like, believe it or not, I seem very extrovert when I'm among people, but I'm actually ambivert. I'm very much introvert. You wouldn't tell when you
Oh,
see me in social, because it's not that I'm shy. I'm not shy when I'm among people, but introversion, extroversion is really not necessarily about shyness, but it's about how you recharge your batteries and what makes you relaxed, what rejuvenates your life juices. Is it being among people? Does it really make you juiced up, or is it just being in your own bubble and just hiding and feeling like, okay, just the whole world can leave me alone, I'm just with myself? So I actually love the whole world to leave me alone very often. And so acknowledge this, embrace this. Do not buy into the general advice or the general strength that is out there. And I believe that the introverts are actually amazing at building deep quality relationships. But maybe it will be through one meaningful conversation at a time. Maybe it won't be this, mingle networking party when you are supposed to get to know 10 new people in 10 minutes. Maybe it's not your thing. I'm actually not good at chit chat. I still, I'm soon 40. I still haven't learned how to do chit chats, and they exhaust me so much. Literally, I've been running the online business for quite a few years now, and every single time I get a message on Messenger from a stranger, hey, how is your day going? I'm like paralyzed. Like, I can't do this kind of conversation. I'm not signing up for it, and so I'm not doing these kinds of conversations. And instead, also, like, instead of being a party hostess, same with Facebook groups. You will hear, oh, do a Facebook group. There are many reasons why I know that doing my own Facebook group, I've tried, but it's not my favorite way of operating in this world. It's not my favorite way of doing my business, just as it's not my favorite way to be a hostess of a party at home. I'm not the party hostess type, and it's okay. But I'm the kind of person that one person at a time will come to, and suddenly they will find themselves in a conversation, and they will then tell me, oh my goodness, I've just shared something with you that I haven't shared with anyone.
Okay, so you like to deal with one-on-one settings, and most people, they feel comfortable on a one-to-one, not like 10 people at a time. So that is your comfort level on one-to-one.
Yeah, or I adore it. I adore it the most, and it seems like this is how I build my relationships. So I've always been both in relationships building and in many other things over the quality and the depth and the complexity rather than the quantity. And yes, and getting loads of numbers. And I think also, if you are shy, because I am not, right? But if you are introvert and shy among people, but I bet you have a very high level of reflection and self-reflection. And probably if you want something more in life, if you still are aspirational, you are probably also curious of many things. You probably want to learn. Apply this curiosity. You don't need to be, the main entertainer in the social network. You can be the one asking really, really great questions that will make other people think, and that will allow other people shine.
Yes.
And they will feel deeply connected to you and grateful for the questions you've been asking, and just your ability to listen, because you don't have this need to, to shine and lead the conversation. You can just listen deeply, and you will build a great relationship through that.
That's beautiful. That is so good. Yeah, absolutely. And I think you need to acknowledge yourself, acknowledge for the talents you have. You know, you're a good listener. You are empathetic to other people around. Doesn't mean you got, like I said, you know, it doesn't mean you have to be the center, the focal of the attention. You can, there are there are other ways that, you know, we can be part of a group if we wish to be, but being part of could be in many other ways, like, you know, the talents that we have. And so, Aleksandra, what is your biggest, what is your superpower, and what is your biggest defect?
For
You talked about
very
superpower. So what is your
hyperachiever.
superpower and what is your defect?
So as hyperachiever, my brain still conditioned to do this trick would go straight to all the defaults, all the defects, all not good enoughness still. But again, great question. What is my superpower? I think actually that one would be this curiosity. Okay. This is really what drives me in my work as mentor, as coach. People think, oh, coaches and mentors, they're all like these helper types. I am not. Actually, I am not. I don't want to be a rescuer. My people are powerful people. They don't need help. So I even struggle with, the power statement. It always starts with, I help these and these people do this and that without this and that or whatever. And I was like, I can figure out the other pieces, but like I help doesn't sit well. Like I do not help. I will challenge you. I will hopefully inspire you. I will, empower you. Right. I will coach you. I will happily teach you if you want to be taught something. But not help. But not help, please. I don't help. And so, so I think this curiosity and really, for my own sake, being really stubborn, which is sometimes good, sometimes, but I usually win on being really stubborn. So when I decide, I just go for it. And I don't care what other people would say. I go for impossible goals and dreams. I've always done, always, for as long as I can remember. And believe me, there were many people, just like there were many people probably in your life, in everyone's life listening here, that would tell you, oh, what's the point? It will never happen. Right. Or at least the chances for it happening are so tiny that why bother? Like, can't you choose an easier way? Can't you choose something? Well, whatever. Right. So I do not listen. I stay true to myself and I just go for the craziest things, really like impossibilities. And I have at this point such a track record of most impossible things, dreams coming true against all the odds, that all the people around me are now, they've observed my journey and they know of all these impossible things happening. So when I now come up with the next crazy idea, they won't react anymore to like, oh, but it's impossible. Why do you even
They support you. They support you.
Yeah, as much as they can, but at least they will say, oh, well, if anyone can do this, it's you.
Okay. So I
guess this is one of my superpowers.
That's amazing.
And the defects, yes. Tons of them. But sometimes if something is not my thing, I've learned not to push it and rather play to my strengths and just accept that some things are not my things, and and I have a free choice.
Right.
Do I want to do something about it? Or is it okay? And can I just embrace it as, a part of my unique personality, right, way of doing and living? Because not everything needs to be fixed, even though not everything is perfect, but it doesn't need to be either. And with the things that really bug me and where I really want to strengthen it, I think still even though I've made such a progress lately, but still probably just staying focused on one thing at a time and not trying to make it all happen in 1 week.
Yeah.
I have a lifetime. So it's just staying focused and having this approach of, less is more. So kind of doing less better
Right.
to completion
Mhm.
before I sign up for the next journey, for the next project, for, play on great many ideas. Because I'm also a creative, which is a strength, but it can bite you back
Mhm.
if you go from idea to action instantly, and suddenly you can start 10 different things and your efforts are scattered and the day is
Mhm.
not long enough, and then instead of really making progress with any of them, you might just end up in overwhelm. So this is what I still need to be aware of and kind of course correct myself.
Exactly. Wonderful. So, how do you develop a success mindset and what are the tools?
I think it starts with definition of success to
What is the
begin with.
definition of success? What is the definition?
Well, for me, because obviously it will be also very specific, tangible goals and ideas of, what kind of success I want to achieve. But in general terms, for me, success is not always, not only achieving your goal,
Mm-hmm.
but also achieving it in a way
Mm-hmm.
that is easy, that is delightful, that feels like a thrilling adventure and not a journey through hell.
Yeah.
Because really, if you think about it, with all these achievements, I compare them to mountaintops.
Mm,
And
that's great.
you can stay at the mountaintop and admire the view for a while. Maybe you
Right.
can eat your food there and drink a drink. But really, the major part of the journey is the journey of getting there, is the
Mm,
hike, it's the
yeah.
climb.
Uh-huh.
And so, I don't know about you, Alka, but I want to have a blast on the journey,
Me
because
too. Yes.
these are, this is what life's really consists of most of the time,
That's
not
right.
just sitting on these tops.
It's the thrill, it's the excitement. It's the excitement to get there. You know,
Yeah.
the getting to the top, that's the icing on the cake. But for us, it's the thrill, the excitement. Oh my God, I can't wait to get there. So the excitement, absolutely, that's for me too. Hmm.
And guess what? If you are in a natural achiever type, I bet you are, you reach the top, you think, this is awesome, I've made it. And from this top, you look around and you see, oh, and there is this top. This looks
Right.
like fun. Let me try this one now. And immediately you start planning your next hike.
Hmm. Exactly. You start planning because there's more, there's more in you that you want to do. Absolutely. So it comes to the point that I want to make when we're talking about this, on the mountain peak, and we know the achievement that we have inside of us and how much more potential we have. Is it harder to become successful or to stay successful?
Hmm. Both come
Yeah.
with a different set of challenges. First of all, for an achiever type, I would say, first of all, acknowledge that the success that you have already achieved, because we are flying high. And no matter how high we are flying, we have always our eyes fixed on the next level that is
Mhm.
even higher. And so and I've heard this phrase from my people so often, oh, people think that I've achieved so much, but it's actually nothing compared to what I want to achieve next. And so kind of we are downplaying our achievements.
Mhm.
And so one of my tricks for that is, because there is a lot of talk about vision boards, yes,
Yeah.
dream boards, where
Right.
you are heading, and
That's
the
right.
next goals and the goal cards and things like that. But like, how about creating an achievement board,
Oh,
like
wow.
the board that
Yes.
shows what you have already achieved, what you
Wow,
have
I like that.
already created?
Mhm.
Look at that, especially that this new dream, this new level will challenge you still. It will require further growth. And sometimes it might really feel overwhelming. It might feel scary. It might feel daunting, intimidating. And you might feel like, oh my gosh, who am I to try to get this thing? Like, I am so little compared to this vision that is so big. And so remind yourself how powerful you are already, because all of us, and these don't need to be even achievements that other people would say, oh yes, that's a huge achievement, and they will clap. You know, consider those who were that were the biggest challenges for you.
Exactly.
Because what is a challenge for one person doesn't need to be that challenging for someone else, because maybe that's within their natural strength already, and vice versa. So what are your personal inner wins? And then I think someone asked me, Alex, how is it possible that you always get what you want? Whatever you do, you're always successful.
So what do you do? Like, how do you get everything that you want?
I gave it a thought, and my first thought was, oh, it's so not true. You should know what I'm going through right now. Yes, because I was trying to achieve some particular result in my business, and it wasn't yet happening. So I felt like I'm not successful with that.
Right.
But then I paid attention, and I analyzed this question, and I ended up with one very simple, universal answer to this question. It's very simple. What creates the guarantee of success is just simply keeping going until you succeed.
Wow.
It's as simple as that. So forget the deadline. I hate deadlines. Because when you have this impossible dream, there are so many factors. Some of them you can predict, some of them you can't predict. You start with a lot of questions, you don't have answers. How on earth would you be able to plan and make like a reasonable estimate of the time it will take you? You do not know enough to plan precisely enough in time. And
That's right.
what? So you have a dream, you're going for it. Failure is a part of success. Great phrase, man. Take it with you. Failure is a part of success. Multiple failures, it's all good. They are lessons. You learn, you grow, you get stronger, you realize things you need to realize, you become a person you need to become, and you keep going, and you'll find the and so you keep going until you succeed.
Right.
And if you haven't yet, do not think of yourself, oh yeah, maybe I achieved this and that, but now I'm not that much of an achiever because I've not yet. No, if you thought you would achieve it by the end of this year and you didn't, it's a deadline. So what?
That's okay.
So your dream dies?
Yeah.
Is your dream dead because of this? No. You just think, okay, no, let me try something else. That wasn't the, maybe this is the way, or maybe I need to strengthen myself in this way or that way. And you just keep going until you succeed.
Exactly. Find a pivot. Maybe find another avenue that will take you to your goal, but just don't give up. Aleksandra, I absolutely love this conversation. It's been such an enlightening conversation that you're sharing with us. Thank you. And your final question, everything that you have accomplished, and I'm sure there's more to you that you're accomplishing, that you want to accomplish. You wake up in the morning and all the files are deleted. What are 3 things that you want people to learn from you?
I really want people to do life their way. I have this mantra, go with your flow, and your flow only. And it doesn't mean being rebellious and going against the mainstream. The mainstream is irrelevant, really. It's just listening to yourself and living life your way, and going for things that light you up, going for things that matter to you, that make sense in your head. No one else needs to understand it. as you are going there. Doesn't matter. Go with your own flow. And it's important, like flow is a very important word for me, because when you are fully aligned, when you go with your own flow, there is no fight. There is no fighting against something, proving something. No, you just follow. And it's like a flow of the river. So even if you encounter an obstacle, it's okay, and it's not harsh, and you're not banging the wall because the wall is there. You just gently, joyfully, playfully find a way around it, over it, above it. Doesn't matter. You just keep flowing. So there is nothing like I'm stuck. You're never stuck. You're just flowing. And you might just correct the course a bit, and it's okay. The third thing would be, the second one would be really, if you notice, if you resonated with what I was sharing about superheroes and carrying this mask on all the time, don't be afraid to take it off. You will actually, that was one of the biggest realizations of my life, when I realized that being a regular human, is not the opposite of being a superhero, but it's actually a necessary condition. Like creating space and embracing this humanity of ourselves is actually the necessary part of being able to show up as a superhero at times when it really matters. And you need to have the cave, like the Batman cave, like you need to have the space where you can pull back, and take care of yourself before you are able to go out there and do incredible stuff again.
So we can be vulnerable. So what you're in essence, what you're saying is you need to be vulnerable. We need to show the vulnerability that needs to come out. We can't always be like the superhero, strong and macho all the time, but we need to also show the vulnerability that we have inside, and let that come out, and let that be your true projection for high achieving and to success.
Yeah. And actually, it will be a cure for this hyperachiever syndrome, because you will understand that, okay, I don't need to feel at my best in order to show up in the world. I can feel at my worst and still show up in the world, and I will be good.
And that's still
power. Very powerful. Oh, this is huge power, being vulnerable and still show up. This is, and also what it will do, it will not only, like, people will not only admire you, but people will relate to you. And the way you're showing up like this, both as superhero and human and vulnerable and transparent and very authentic in all of that, they will actually get inspired. And you can, when people admire you, you don't have such an impact on other people's lives. But when they get inspired by you, this is when they see the same potential and the same greatness, the same spark in themselves. And that's the beautiful fact to make.
It's like the mirror. You're looking at a mirror. It's the reflection. What on the outside world is actually being perceived by you, and vice versa. You are perceived by the outside world. So that mirror and having that reflection, truly, we need to have that to see the potential that we have inside of us. And I love that. That is so beautiful.
Yeah. Absolutely. So that would be my words of wisdom. And the last one, really just to wrap it up, and how to transform from hyperachiever that is, pushing so hard and exhausting himself along the way, to really healthy achiever that just enjoys the journey and creates amazing things along the way, would be really that you need to feel good to achieve more, and not the other way around.
Wow. Okay. So you need to feel good to achieve more. And
it's
just
not
like
about
success.
Yeah.
Just like success. Just like money and success. People say you're successful if you have a lot of money, or if you have a lot of money, then that's how you're successful. So the same, and I love this. You got to feel good first to achieve more.
Yeah. And this is when this achievement will really come with
Mm.
ease, with speed, with flow. There is no opposite. People think, oh, if I want to achieve it fast, then I need to sacrifice loads of things. But in fact, you won't speed up this process. Maybe if it's like a short sprint, you need to get some project done and there is like a deadline, yes, given by someone else, and you need to deliver something from you within Friday, let's say, then okay, it might be that you won't take your kids to the training this day and would have to delegate it. Or it might be that it won't be the most delicious advanced dinner. Maybe you will make something simple and just keep going. And okay, maybe you will actually sleep just 5 hours this night instead of 7 or 8 or whatever you need. But it's very short term. But you can't operate like this in the long run. And with these huge, visions, dreams, these are like ultra marathons where you don't know the route exactly. You don't know the length exactly.
Right. And
So
you don't have a
just
GPS.
yeah, so you don't have that. You need to navigate and figure it out and be prepared to run in different directions and maybe not necessarily always right, and it's all fine. But what you need to be able to keep going and reach this finish line at the end is being unstoppable and being in your flow and being able to keep going at the sustainable pace for you. This is what will make you reach this finish line at the end.
Exactly. And you know what I love, what I do is I always stay in my line, in my lane. Like it doesn't matter who is doing what, as long as I know I'm in my lane. And, I mean, there was a time I used to compare with other people. Oh, they're doing so much, they've achieved so much. But now I've come to the realization that no, wait a minute, I need to be in my lane. And the more I know that I stay in my lane, I'm achieving the best to my ability, what I am doing. That's all that matters. And that's all we need to care. And I also love if people need to celebrate the smaller wins, because smaller wins will lead to larger victories, larger
Yeah,
goals that you might have, but start small.
it's actually all, most of it is through small steps,
Mhm.
even though some of them might turn out to be like the quantum leaps, but they usually often are like small steps. It might
Small
be not
steps.
something really, it might be just, the act of courage. But in terms of action taking, very often you don't need to take so much action. It's just that you try different things, you are inspired, hopefully, not like pushing yourself, but you have this inspired idea, you act on it.
Mhm.
And suddenly this one phone call that took you, almost no energy and 2 minutes of your life suddenly leads you to the completely next level
That's
in your
right.
life or business.
That's right. Hmm. Exactly. You never know, but you got to take the step first to be able to see the results that you were expecting. But so we're going to take those baby steps along the way. Alexandra, this has been such an enlightening conversation. I truly want to thank you taking out your time today to joining us. And friends, I hope that you took a lot of notes, because what Alexandra shared with us today was just full of nuggets. And this is episode 54 of Ask the Experts podcast with Alka, and we are bringing amazing entrepreneurs who are coming on the show. So subscribe to the channel, because we want to give you more value so that we can bring on amazing entrepreneurs for you, and live the life that you truly want in your business and in life. So we want to thank you for joining us today, and we will see you on Ask the Experts podcast with Alka. In the meantime, make the rest of the day the best of your day, and we will see you soon. Bye for now.